All right, away we go. Hey, everybody. My name is Tomi Akatunde. I'm the founder of Modern Maya, a platform that helps Black moms answer their motherhood, life, and career questions through content and community. I call us Black Mom Google. The hope is if you have a question, Modern Maya will have the answer for you, or I will find someone who has the answer for you. And tonight, we're going to be talking about the big question that everyone has right now, like how do you actually do this thing called pandemic schooling while being a parent, while being an employee or an employer, or just a human being, just trying to make it in these really confusing, unprecedented times. So with me, I have Stepha Lafond. Hey, Stepha. Stepha is a success coach and mama mentor for fearless and dynamic women at the intersection of motherhood and ambition. Her passion is helping women reconnect to their true identity and break free from the stories that are limiting them in order to finally create the life that they have always dreamed of while prioritizing themselves, creating boundaries and plenty of room for self-care. Her work focuses on helping women navigate the various stages of motherhood, assess their unique needs, and create a plan to help them thrive through that phase of their journey and beyond. And then we
Hey y'all.
yeah. Which is like exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So I couldn't think of anyone better to talk to that journey of transitioning into motherhood during a really confusing time. Then we also have Shemeka Brathwaite with us. For several years, Shemeka Brathwaite had to struggle with the juggle of an action-packed life as a full-time university administrator, philanthropist, board member, and entrepreneur while being fully present with her husband and two sons. Now as a peak performance strategist at Shemeka Brathwaite Enterprises, LLC, Shemeka is committed to equipping executive women with timeless principles that maximizes their productivity so they can have an influential executive presence that is energized and makes an impact. She is the author of the ebook Time Management Strategies for Working Moms and is a past contributing writer to Diversity and Education magazine. Hi, Shemeka.
Hi, Toby. Hi, everyone.
And again, you wrote the book on this very thing that we're talking about today, so thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then last but not least, we have Tessa Jenkins. Tessa is an experienced talent partner, diversity leader, and HR professional. Driven by the need to see a more equitable workplace, Tessa takes pride in providing the best career experience possible. As a talent acquisition partner, her goals include making the candidate experience as inclusive as possible, providing world-class career counseling, and ensuring that women are visible within non-traditional career spaces. In addition to her primary job functions, Tessa has been recognized by peers for her extraordinary commitment to ensuring women are creating spaces that allow them to balance career and personal lives without having to choose one over the other. Tessa,
Hi, y'all.
I'm so happy to have you here to speak to the just dynamics of the workplace and how the workplace is definitely not built up to support moms in the first place. And then add a pandemic, and here we are now. So the way the evening will go is that I have some like broad questions about some strategies for all of these different issues. And then you guys sent in some questions beforehand when you RSVP'd that we'll be getting to. If you have any questions that you want to ask, feel free to leave it in the chat box. But first off, before we dive right in, like, how's everyone doing? And that goes to the attendees as well. Feel free to type in and tell us how you're doing. I can go first. I'm hyped right now, but this week has been a really hard one, putting all of this together. Very rewarding, very exciting, but also it's a lot. It's a lot to manage having your passion project, which is Modern Maya for me, then also having the jobs that put the roof over my head, also wanting my time, and then being married, trying to be a good daughter, friend. It's overwhelming, but right now I'm like in such a good mood. So yeah, that's me.
I'm with you, Tommy. I am hype. I think this is such an important conversation. And I've been seeing kind of like the topics you've been covering this week because I am deep in it and the talking about school right now. I'm in New York City, so it's a big thing. We're supposed to start school in 3 weeks. We know we're not going to start school in 3 weeks. Our family has chosen to go completely remote, even though that wasn't the ideal, like this is what we want, but that was the best choice given the circumstances. So how do we make it work? And the biggest concern for me, which is something that I hope we all can kind of discuss today, is how do you make it work in a way that's sustainable and that's completely different from what was in the spring? Because the spring, literally sprung on us and we didn't know what to do. Everybody was just like trying to make it work. So what have we learned and what are our needs and how do we express that and make it work and make it sustainable so we're not, I don't know, crying every day. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I very much so along the same lines. I think for everyone this spring, it was literally one day everything was normal. Then I want to say even that same day, 12 hours later, the world was upside down. And I jokingly tell my friends and coworkers that, oh, that world is gone. We ain't never getting her back. But, the longer this pandemic goes on, I realize it's not a joke. That world is behind us now. And we're creating a different world that is one way or another going to be more welcoming of working families and work with parents. And this is coming from someone who's in HR and sitting in on policy meetings to make sure that we are giving everyone a fair chance to be successful. And I can tell you from an insider's view, a lot of companies won't be going back to business as usual. And it's a good thing. And I never thought I'd say this, but I'm thankful that the pandemic did it.
Mm-hmm. No, and I appreciate that insight too, because it's very easy to get kind of bogged down in the past and not think about the potential for the future, for a better future, for a better system. So thank you, Tessa.
No problem.
Mika, how are you feeling?
The way that I feel is it's a lot. A lot has happened over the past 5 months, and it's really about like what you make out of it. And like Tess and Stepha said as well, it's like it was thrown at us, but hopefully as we have the conversation, we'll talk about strategies. But it's I noticed that's where you see so many people's choices and decisions come about. So right now for me, I'm a planner. So I'm planning with uncertainty. I made choices that was best for my family. My son is ending his last day of in-person summer school tomorrow. So that's going to be over with. So that was an experience there, but that was a choice that worked for us, and his academics and everything worked out. But I'm just taking it one day at a time.
Definitely. So I want to move into the question, the strategy, the big answer portion. And this question came in from an audience member that I thought just like was the best way to jump into it. And she asked, I need the code. How do I balance it all? Or do I just give up on professional success right now? So, is there a code to managing all of this right now? Is there a formula that can be applied across all moms to make things easy right now?
No.
I was gonna say,
Long answer.
In short. But I want Tess to come in. Is it Tess or Tessa? What do you prefer?
Either or, it's just one less letter. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I like Tessa. But come in with the HR. I know I could give you kind of like what my take is and what I usually tell folks.
Sure. So, short answer, no. There's no code. There's no cheat sheet. This isn't Mario Kart. There's no one size fit all code for this. Long answer, you can absolutely have professional success and juggle the ever changing world. As we've stated, as we all know, this was so unprecedented that absolutely no one was prepared for it. And with it being one of those things that was so unprecedented and no one was prepared for, businesses have had to learn quick, fast, and in a hurry how to adapt to working parents. And when I joined my organization, conveniently, I joined in January, and 2 months later, the pandemic had made its way over here. So I was literally one of the people like, oh crap, what the heck is happening? Am I going to lose this awesome job that I just signed an offer letter for in December? What the heck is happening? Thanks be to the universe and the heavens above, I have not lost it. But one thing I have had to learn is how to manage my time efficiently. I thought prior to COVID, I was doing great because I used my phone, my calendar, had a planner. Just, I consider myself to be like organizational queen. But obviously, COVID has let me know you are not as organized as you want to be, girl. And that is okay. So there's no code, but one thing, the best way to like have that balance of professional and juggling your kids' life, your life, is to have those really important conversations. I know we'll dive into that a little bit later, but speak with your partner if you have one. Speak with your higher ups at work. If you have someone who, you know, that's your person at work, and I say that because I'm a big Grey's Anatomy fan. So I have someone in my workspace who is my person. So, you know, whatever we say to each other, it stays between us unless it's life, death, or impending doom. And I'll tell her like, hey, I am struggling, girl. I don't know what I'm doing as far as making sure Mason is doing homework and doing his instructional time, me managing meetings and things like that. And she'll say, okay, have you taken a deep breath? Did you drink your water today? And most of the time I haven't done either. So that's typically the first step to really handling things and working through them, is having someone to talk to in your personal life and professional life, and getting those conversations going. And those conversations soon evolve into you having a game plan of what to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love every part of that. And for me, what I teach my clients when I'm working with them is understanding that life happens in seasons, and within those seasons are different capacities. So you can expect your life to just be going at the same rate and you having the same flow regularly, right? And then we were hit with this pandemic. So nobody prepped us for it. This is a once in a lifetime type of event, right? So understanding within that, all right, this is the season that I am in. This is the chaos that's happening, and I'm not alone. But what is important for me? What's good right now, and what is it within my capacity to do? There are so many things you can do within your work, within your home, but understanding what the priorities are in each area, picking those top three, and then really getting organized about it, in the sense that whether you assign days to it, a specific time chunk where you are doing X, Y, and Z, everybody's going to have their methods, their little thing that works for them. But knowing that you're not going to do the things that you were doing in January or at this time last year, but this is what you have right now and how you can make the best out of it. Who can you reach out to and bring in with you? How can you, if you are in a home with a partner, be with someone and have them understand what your needs are, and really constantly communicate when others need to step up? Or if you're a single mom, one thing I've seen with friends who are single moms is relying either on another family to provide support, having them be your people, because you cannot just be siloed if you're a single mom and trying to do all the things, or partnering with another single mom and you're helping each other and bringing that village aspect to it.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, I would say, just to piggyback on what Tess and Stepha said, when it comes to a code, a system, I do like acronyms and some type of framework. So one of the things that I came up with is the acronym PLAN: prepare, leverage, accommodate, and navigate. So when you think about preparing, just as with anything in life, we literally heard the rumors that this coronavirus was coming on. And one of the things that I said to my assistant, I said, you know what, we need to start putting everything. So before Corona hit, we started having everything virtual. I never believed in just having everything physical, but always having things virtual. So when it hit, people were like, oh my gosh, now we're going to be doing Zoom and we're going to be doing this, X, Y, and Z. We had a lot of the systems already in place, so it was already a seamless transition. As Stepha and Tess said, you know, really leveraging your networks and your resources and everything that you have. And also, you know, when you think about the accommodations, thinking about, you know, being assertive on what it is that you need, talking to your supervisor, talking to your family and everyone that's around you, your village, in order to make the necessary accommodations, whether it's work. For example, I know going forward in the fall that I'm not going to schedule any meetings before 3 o'clock, if possible. Only the reason why is because I have no idea what's going to happen with blended learning and school and things like that. So anything in my control to avoid that headache of trying to be in 3 places at once, if I could push meetings later. Today I had a staff meeting, and I said to them, I said, can we push this meeting for like 3 o'clock? Can we, you know, so you want to try to be assertive to make those accommodations. And last but not least is navigation, really looking at how to navigate and find out those different resources that's available for you, and staying really connected. Facebook, the mothers groups where you can network and find information out to people. But if you stick to the plan, PLAN, things would give you some type of direction of where to go next.
Definitely. I love that. That's a great, a great acronym. So I think part of the issue, along with just the impossibility of being a working mother in general before the pandemic, there is the added element of mom guilt that makes it that much more difficult to process some of these feelings that come up. What advice do you have for moms who are feeling like that, an extra amount of mom guilt navigating just pandemic parenting?
I'm like, are we going in back and forth, or did you just jump in?
Honestly, okay, I'll jump in because I have this theory that mom guilt, it comes from society. So it's not really ours to own. It comes from these unrealistic expectations that are placed on women anyway, that we are supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to walk this line with our heels on, our business suit, or something on our heads. Like we're supposed to do it all. And it's to me, it's creating a life that no one can attain to. So when you start setting those expectations, you start feeling you're falling short. So I would say when mom guilt pops up, really assess, like, where is that coming from? And is it true? Did I do my best today? So I am a big believer in the 4 agreements. So I tell my people, understand the 4 agreements. And one of the agreements is just like, always do your best. So did I do my best? Did I show up? Did I create a system that worked for me? All right. Maybe I didn't. So I'm going to step back and do that. But did I do my best today, given the resources that I have? Okay, that's it. Understanding that I think our children's expectations are completely different than what ours are. Your kids will be like, you are the most amazing person ever. You know, and you're like, really? Because I feel like I'm sucking at this. Like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. They're like, yeah, but you know, you made me mac and cheese from the box, and that's my favorite. And you're like, oh, that's all you wanted. It's so simple. And I think when you bring it back to the simple things, like how am I showing up in a way that reflects who I am and is showing up. It will show up in your work, and it will show up with your children, but understanding that it's not this image of perfect that we've created.
Yeah, how do you break yourself from that expectation though? Like, because yes, like yes, it's society, it's patriarchy, bullshit, and also it's a thing.
And also, so yeah, no, that's a good one. So I think asking yourself is, what's real here? What is the expectation? What is it that's possible? So are you having guilt that you are not, what is the guilt around? So is it, I'm not spending enough time with my children? We were having a little bit of conversation before everybody started. Your children, it's okay for your children to see you working, to understand that mommy works and mommy does these things, right? And bringing them, but also understanding that what is it that they need from you? Some children just literally want to be right next to you. I had my door closed in the beginning. I knew my son was going to start, he did start screaming. And it's better to just have him in here because he don't want nothing else but to lay next to me, because he's tired and he wants to go to sleep and he just wants that comfort. And sometimes our children want to be in the room with us doing their little activity because that's what they're used to. And you have to understand that they're also adjusting to this time. So that's one of the biggest things, but really finding out, like, what am I feeling guilty about and where is it stemming from? And then you kind of break it down from there.
Yeah, Keisha just said, what I do is just unplug from social media when I start feeling guilt to live in my moment. And yes, to all of that. Yes.
I 100% agree with Stepha and Keisha because, like I told you guys before we really got started, my son was literally right back there and just wanted to be able to have his eyes on me, as the old folks would say. And, when those feelings come about, yes, they are from society's expectations on what moms should do, but society also expects you to walk out the hospital 48 hours after having your baby in 6-inch heels and size 5 skinny jeans. And I mean, I don't know anybody who's really done that before. So we have to realize that societal standards are just that, they're societal standards. And like Stepha said, the standards I hold myself to is the ones that my son hold me to. When I put on lipstick today, he's like, that is the prettiest lipstick color I've ever seen. You never wear lipstick. And I'm like, I put on lipstick like once a week. What are you talking about? So the fact that he held me to the standard of, oh my God, my mom put on lipstick. She's fancy now. She's amazing. She's gorgeous. She made me nachos for dinner. His whole life was made from literally 2 things. So in my book today, that was a good mom day. According to him, that was an amazing mom day because he got to have his favorite dinner and spend some time to himself doing some fun activities on his iPad while eating dinner. And, we can't allow what society believes a mom should be to boggle us down. It sucks that society feels mom should be this cookie cutter, amazing, juggle everything effortlessly, but that's not real life. You're gonna have moments where you sit in the closet and scream and cry and be disappointed in yourself, and that is okay. Allow yourself to have those times. Allow yourself to have those feelings, and it's I call it a momentary glitch in the mom tricks. So, you have your glitch, you cry, you smudge up your makeup and stuff, and then you get up, you get out that closet, and say, okay, I'm all right now. I'm going to be okay. Another one of these is going to happen. But guess what? We're going to end up on this side of it again. And just let it happen and, allow yourself to feel. That's the biggest thing. And as moms, we don't always do that. We sometimes say, hey, I'm Superwoman. Can't allow myself to feel. Can't let the kids see me cry. Can't let my partner see me cry. And let all those people see you cry, because sometimes they may need to see you cry so they could cry. And everybody cries together, and then we go get ice cream and be happy afterwards.
That's great.
I definitely agree. When it comes to your kids, it's you. Sometimes it's so easy to feel bad, like if parents are, doing a certain thing with their kids and you're not doing that. I mean, you can't feel guilty about that. And I know for me, I was thinking about, oh my gosh, well, everyone is able to get their kid in bed by 7, you know, and I'm letting my kids go to sleep. And you know what? My parenting style is my parenting style. I had to learn how to like overcome that guilt there. I do feel guilty sometimes when he had, let's say if he has an event at his school, and I try to make it to everything if I can, but that's not realistic. So sometimes one of the things is seeing if grandma could go or auntie could go instead, to have somebody else in place that could go to that event. And my husband's not able to go. And if not, connecting with another parent to say, hey, Chantel, I can't make it to this event, but as soon as he's finished with the show, just put us on FaceTime and let me just talk to him and just say that he did a great job or something like that. So it's just, you know, having that conversation with him saying, okay, mommy can't make it today, but when we come home, we can have some ice cream with some sprinkles on it. So just really just trying to balance it, because it could be a challenge if you're working late or you can't make it to certain things, the PTA, you know, you can't, you know, and I thought I was going to be the PTA mom. I thought I was like, man, my son is starting school, I was going to be the PTA mom. I was not the PTA mom. My husband ended up being the PTA dad, but you know, and I was like, you know what, that is okay. You know, I'm serving mothers in a different way. So it's all good.
Yeah. Can I touch on that? Because I think you brought such a good point, and that's something that I know I've experienced, Shemeka, and I'm sure other mothers, especially moms with new moms, have experienced this too. Thinking you have this idea in your head of the mom that you're going to be, and somehow that being a mother means that you have to come and you have to show up for all the things. I know I personally fell victim to that early on, that I'm gonna go, like, for me it was like, once I left, came back from maternity leave, you know, I still had a pretty flexible schedule, but I'm like, I'm gonna make it back to the same baby classes that we were going to, because that's how I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna just show up as much as possible for my children. And I was burning myself out pretty early on, trying to catch everything, even though I had somebody like bringing them. I'm like, no, I'm gonna make it. So I think it's really important what you make of those moments, and understanding that sometimes you're not going to make things, and it may be a sitter, a family member, somebody else bringing them, but how do you make that moment special? And as long as you're there for things that are important, or you're there for other events, just whatever event that you didn't make doesn't make you a bad mom. Not being able to show up to things sometimes because you had other priorities doesn't make you a bad mom. It's the balance of it all, and figuring out when it is that you need to physically be there, and understanding that there are times that you can't be there, but you can build your relationship in other areas, without having to constantly be there.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about communicating your needs at work, and the best way to do that. This kind of dovetails with the conversation about societal expectations. A quote from a journalist named Amy Westerveld is always in my head when I think about this. She said, "We expect women to work like they don't have children, and raise children as if they don't work." And I've read stories of women who are suing their employers because, you know, they have said, if I hear your child crying during like a conference call, like, that's it, you're fired. How do you communicate to your office that, like, the way that you're going to show up as an employee is going to be different? It has to be different because of the pandemic and parenting.
For me, I work in the School of Education at a college. So the culture there is people bring their kids to work. It's the school, school off that week. Some people bring in the kids in the office. So it's that type of culture. And that's the reason why I shifted from working in the fashion industry, which was like from 9 in the morning till 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, I was working every day, into a work environment that was accepting of that work-life family balance. So having that conversation with my supervisor, she who's the dean of the college, she's very open, she's understanding with that. But I do have friends who have that challenge of wondering how they're going to balance work and life, and it's tough. It's really it's tough in order to try to manage that and have that conversation, because not every company is there yet in order to have that type of environment.
Yeah. So then, like, how do you have the conversation when you do have a company culture that is like yours, where, you know, everyone's like acknowledging that this is different, and certain things are going to have to change, or when you have a work culture that's like, you had a child, I did not need to know that, like, what are you talking about, have this in by 5?
So I can speak to that. So before I came to my current company very early in my career, and I say that like it wasn't 5 years ago, but when I first got into HR and talent acquisition, I worked for a company that told me, and this is verbatim, my son was home from daycare sick one day, which kids, it happens. They told me, you need to find something to do with that. And I said, that what? I don't have, like, what are you talking about? That child in the background is making noise. I said, that child is my human that I was in labor for 27 hours with. So please don't refer to him as that, because that's not his name. So needless to say, I left that company relatively fast. But I am currently in a very supportive work environment where they know that my son is very present, and he exists. And the one way I set myself up for that was even before I came to the company I am now. In my interview, I made sure when I was giving examples of things like tough situations I've dealt with, I made sure that I incorporated my son in some of those examples so that they knew very early on, hey, uh, she's not going to work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's not going to happen. She may have days where she comes strolling in at 10 and leaves at 2 because she has to pick her son up or something like that. And my manager told me when she extended my offer, one of the reasons she hired me was because I'm a mom. And that's almost unheard of, that your superior tells you, I hire you because you are a mom. So I set up that conversation very, very early. Little did I know, now we would be dealing with a pandemic. I told her, hey, my son is going into kindergarten next year. So I'm definitely going to be out on his first day of school because I'm literally that mom that they have the crying corner for. And I am, when he has half days on Fridays, I'm probably going to work remote those days because I want to make sure I'm picking him up from school. He's not having to go to after school care unnecessarily and things like that. Obviously, once the pandemic came, that kind of all that plan and all that talking went out the window. So I told her, like, hey, can we have a meeting? I did it on the fly because we have that type of relationship. So I guess one of the biggest things is set yourself up early on for a relationship with your superiors where they know that you have a family life, where they know that, hey, my child is my main priority. I'm going to do the work that I need to do to be successful here, to get to where I want my end goal to be. But I'm probably going to have to step away sometimes because my kid may have a asthma attack at school, or he may throw a temper tantrum, or they may have a drill and he freaked out or anything like that. So when we had our conversation, I told her, hey, obviously the world is on fire right now. My son's school is in the process of shifting to remote learning, and obviously everyone else's school was doing that as well. And I was like, sometimes I may not be as easily accessible in the mornings as I previously was. My calendar may be modified. I may have more time blocked off before noon to help him with schoolwork and things. And she said, okay, what do you need from me? And that was refreshing for me because you never really hear your managers say, okay, I totally understand what you have going on. What can I do to help you continue being successful as a parent, as a partner, and here in your career? And I told her, I literally, all I need is for you to tell me once a week it's going to be okay. We're past that now because, like I said, the world's on fire. So telling me it's going to be okay really doesn't do much of anything now. But my son's school district shifted from, they were supposed to start school next Wednesday to now they're not starting until September 8th. And they were supposed to start, under a hybrid model. but now they're going to start 100% remote. So that's quite a bit of a contrast for what we had set up. So I told my team on Monday when we had our huddle, like, my son's school year got pushed back a little bit. He's going to be shifting to 100% remote learning. It's going to be more refined. He's going to have actually like 2.5, 3 hours with his teacher during the day, or, that may shift. I just want to make sure that if the teacher needs me, if he needs me, I can pop out and don't have to worry about too much. And she said, okay, have you started doing your calendar modifications? And I said, yeah, I'm just going to shift all of my important calls and meetings to my afternoon, probably work a little bit later, start my day a little bit later, so that, we can still have our morning routine that we have now, and be mindful of the fact that, he has to log in at 8 o'clock, like I normally log in at 8 o'clock.
One thing that comes to mind is really understanding that you can prioritize being a mother as much as you prioritize your career, and that you are worthy of saying like, hey, like this X, Y, and Z doesn't work for me, or I'm going to come in later or leave a little earlier, as long as you do your job. Because what I've seen is there are people that are afraid to speak up, and there are people in horrible work conditions where like I couldn't relate, because one of the reasons I chose the work that I did is because I was like, oh, I have some flexibility in my schedule. And I've always had people like, they may not be in it and they may not completely understand, but they were never on me. But I've had people like, I have a lot of my girlfriends are accountants, and they work in firms, and that is a hard place for a woman. There are companies, corporate companies, where it's like a hard work environment, and they really have had to fight for it. And I do believe because of the pandemic, some of that is going to shift, but some companies are going to shift a little slower than others. And you have to be willing to see, okay, if this company isn't shifting, do I start looking? And I obviously right now can be a hard time, but particularly if your workplace, there are jobs out there, and talking to your friends, talking to other professionals in your field who are moms, and asking what kind of environment is created where they're at, because there are people that simply don't have that options. There's still a very much like that quote, when you hear you're working, when you're over there, you are a mother, and they don't want to hear about how motherhood affects what you have to do or those responsibilities. Yeah. Furthermore, what I've seen, which is really disheartening, is sometimes those women are the ones pushing those things. Like, yeah, I have kids, and what? That old boys club. Listen, I wanted to fight my girl. You need me to come down there and fight her? Like, what's happening? Like, well, I'm gonna roll up and show her, because it makes me angry to think that a woman who also has children can treat an employee like that.
I really like what Ashley said. If the workplace isn't accepting, you may have to create the mom workplace culture you want. Ashley, do you want to talk more about that?
Sure. So can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So we have tots on in the background. I'm sorry. But essentially, like, cultivating like a mom workplace culture is like, I hold this baby. I'm on calls all day. So is he. He's my intern. We joke about it. We laugh about it. It's to the point my VP will say, does Blaze have something to say, at the end of a call? But I will take a long lunch. I may log on really early. I may send email at 5:30 a.m. because that's when I can do it. But you will get quality work from me. I may not work a whole 8. I may work 4 hours, but there will not be any misspellings in my stuff. Like, you'll be able to share what I send, right? And it'll be good quality work. So I would say you may not always have to have a conversation about what you can't do, but you should totally do what you can do. People should know what to expect from you. And like, your quality as an employee, it won't waver. I think it'll be enhanced by the kid that you're holding, right? Like, people, they get it, especially when your work doesn't take a complete backseat. So just do what you can, when you can.
I love it. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, one more thing. One of my girlfriends, we were talking a few days ago, because she's faced with this, and she's like, I don't know if I should put myself back there on the market or what. And I just told her very bluntly, when they hired you, they hired all of you. and that all of you included your kids, their drama, what they come with, your partner, what they come with, your life. They didn't just hire 1/3 of you and say, okay, we're just gonna work with this person. That 1/3 of you is gonna be the one who shows up every day and gets a paycheck. No, they hired 100% of you. And if they cannot deal with 100% of you and the things that come with you and your life, then maybe you need to have a talk with C-suite executives. If they don't want to listen, then let's talk about doing some career coaching and getting your resume in order, girl.
So another conversation that might need to be had is one with your kids, when they are of age, or are able to understand what you're saying, because like a Blaze isn't going to be up to, to hearing anything, other than like, where's the bottle? But how do you help your kids understand what's going on, and set boundaries? This is like a big question of, especially with moms who have kids of different ages and multiple kids. Just like, how do you make that separation between work and home clearer for your kids so that they're not infringing on your time?
I don't see, the one thing I will say is like, I don't think there's necessarily a separation right now between work and home. It's really hard to like admit, but there isn't a separation, because when it's happening under the same roof, and especially for somebody like me, like I'm in New York City, we're in a 2-bedroom apartment, child. Where's the separation? You know, we are sharing some workspaces. They will understand sometimes, like, yes, there's a boundary. If my door is closed and is locked, particularly during the day, like there is an important meeting and I'm not going to be able to attend to you. And my husband is really good at kind of like ringing it in and being like, all right, at this time. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, you can come in. No, come in. But other times like, no. If it's locked, if the door is locked, you can't come in. But understanding that there is that kind of work-life integration. And again, it's this, we are changing. We are actively changing and molding this culture of what is coming up, because too often we're expected to be like, well, this is work, you know, everything was compartmentalized. This is work, and this is school, and this is home, and this is what we do there, and they don't integrate. And no, that's not how it is. So I think if your children are old enough, and I would say kindergarten and above, right, really talking to them, and you know your child is okay, understanding what works for them, understanding the schedule. So help them have their input in making the schedule. They really like to feel like they're in control, because this is chaotic for them too. So if you help them make the schedule and you're like, oh, remember, mommy was doing this, and this is what I had this time to work, and you were going to this independently, and in 5 minutes I can come back and we can be together. Those things help. Children love routine, and I think it's really big for them once they're able to understand that let's work on this routine. If something's not working, then we can change it. But having them have input and understand that those lines are so blurry right now that trying to separate it is probably going to drive you crazy. So that's
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One thing me and my son have done, and much like Ashley, my coworkers, like we've made my son an honorary member of the team. Like he has a Logic 8 book bag, things like that. Well, he steals my book bag, and like he steals my shirt, and we'll wear it into our meetings and things. And a lot of times I just have to say, hey, mommy has a really, really important meeting or a really important call that I have to sit in on, and I need you to be quiet as a church mouse. And he'll say, okay, totally understandable. Sometimes he doesn't always understand. So that's when the mute feature becomes our best friend. And I'll mute the phone or mute the Zoom and tell him like, hey, need you to go sit down, buddy. And remember the talk we just had? And I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same way once he starts doing schoolwork. Like, hey, I'm busy. Why are you talking to me, lady? And things like that. So yeah, definitely a schedule, and just tell them like, hey, this is what's going on. I know this is very different from what we're accustomed to, but we're going to do it, and we're going to make our way through it, and we're going to be okay. And, you know, like I said, kids are so much smarter than we sometimes give them credit for. And I mean, we got to give them credit that they are pretty smart and know what's going on around them, know what's going on in the world. And, you know, we just got to talk to them straight up in age appropriate language.
Yeah, I definitely agree. With the kids right now, as you can hear them in the background, it's you know, the little one, he's nursing, so he's 21 months, you know, so sometimes I'm zooming while breastfeeding, and you know, the camera is off. I tell people like, hey, you know, breastfeeding, got the little one with me, I have to have the cameras off. Maybe as I got better with it, I have them like right at a perfect angle where I could still have the camera on, but they're like lower. And sometimes you see a little hand emerge from the middle of the screen there. But I would say the oldest one is 5. And for the first half of the whole entire pandemic, it was like balancing, keeping him busy while I had to do work. The second half of the pandemic, of course, as I mentioned earlier, he's now finishing up summer school. So it was, you know, so now I had a routine, pick him up, drop him off. And then I had the whole day, just only had to worry about the little one and then pick him up in the afternoon. So I'm in the evening. So so the second half, there was a clear type of balance or some type of routine there. But it's a challenge. They, you know, just trying to work with them, but they're getting better. And of course, dad helps out and they have that there.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk some more about talk about some strategies for time management and creating routines, because I know the routines are really helpful for getting everyone feeling as in control of the situation as possible. So what recommendations do you have for time management?
I think with time management, it becomes really setting realistic expectations of your time. A lot of times we expect to get so many things done when we get different interruptions. Life looks differently, different things get thrown at us, and when we don't get it done, that's where like the guilt and the self-loathing and all that stuff comes in, and really understanding, okay, what can I do today? There's the method of choosing your top 3, depending on where you at in life. Like if you have a newborn, I'm like, what's the one important thing you can do today? What's the one thing, right? One thing that helps that I tell people about is time blocking. So literally blocking out your calendar for a specific amount of times. Like, I'm going to do emails at this time. I'm going to work with the children at this time. I'm going to do household stuff at this time. I'm going to step back into work at this time. But taking time on a Sunday to have your week kind of blocked off in your calendar and getting that color coordination. I know for me, just having that visual works, and a lot of people find that useful too, but it goes back to understanding that you cannot do all the things. So what are the few important things that you're able to do?
Yeah, I agree. Time blocking is key in knowing, you know, setting that time for focus and things that you need to work on. When it comes to time management, if I have too much on my plate, or I tell people, if you have too much on your plate, it's time to go on an activity diet where you really, you know, you're prioritizing on what matters most right now. So before the pandemic, I was looking at different things to put on my plate. And then now the pandemic is here. I'm going to have to go back and renegotiate those terms and say, hey, like right now, all my disposable time is focused now on either work, family, work, business. If it's not in those 3 categories, then at this time we can revisit next year. But right now, this is the main focus, and really just looking at implemented. I love apps. So I when it comes to productivities, I love apps. I'm around the house with Alexa, and she's like keeping me on the go. So I literally schedule like a million reminders. She's like, okay, Shemeka, it's time to do this. It's time to do that. You know, it's you know, as you're waking up, you know, you have your whole the news or whatever it is that's there. You're multitasking, doing a different task there. And I think when it comes to time management, just eliminating a lot of distractions that you can. I love talking on the telephone, and now I've learned that unless it's for a certain purpose, you can't, just be on the phone or binge watch like a whole season or something. So these are all those little things, like really looking at your schedule and where you could find time to incorporate for your family, for your self-care is key.
Yeah, we
I
have
have those same 3 categories too. Work, biz, and that's it.
Yeah. What are some tips on how to manage multiple kids? We have someone on who has a toddler who is 2 years and still nursing. And she still wants to be on me all the time. And then a 6-year-old. So you have 2 different schedules, especially when a toddler does not understand a schedule. Like, what are some tips for managing multiple kids?
So the number one thing I will say is toddlers don't give a damn about your schedule. Okay?
Right.
If you can accept that, I know it's hard, but they don't care about your schedule. And I'm talking as like, I had an older toddler when all of this went down. So he was 3 turning 4, like late in the spring, right before summer. And it was completely different. And I was so thankful for my 6-year-old who was able to, but she was already used to, different personalities. Children have different personalities. So she likes the regimen, and we were able to keep her on track and have a schedule. But with toddlers, I think you have to see where you can kind of give and who you can call in, particularly when you have a toddler who's nursing, so they're going to want to be on you. I don't know your situation, if you have a partner or there's something that they can watch, even if there's something that they're into. I know screen time is just like, oh my God, but their brain, but it's just like, oh my God, COVID is here, so let them watch whatever, because that's when you get a little bit of time. But I will say that particular age is going to get better, but it's hard to tell a nursing 2-year-old that they're going to have to work with your schedule, because they're like, what schedule? Yeah.
So do you guys have any like thoughts about like how to make it easier to include the toddler with the one schedule that you have to have? Because if you can't,
I will say one thing that came to mind, because I'm like looking at her questions with the 6-year-old, since the 6-year-old is like a little bit older, if they're able to, sometimes is bringing the older child and be like, so like have them really step up, like the big sibling, and like, can you help such and such? Can you help the toddler with this? Like they really love that. And sometimes that really helps. I know my daughter really takes her big sister role very seriously, and she can kind of reel them in. So that buys you some time. And trying that out helps you see like maybe how much time that buys them. And then she also said screen time is too much. And I trust me, I get it. I agree with you. Like 2 is hard, because even with my 4-year-old, I've gotten him into books. So books on the iPad, where like there's a read to me feature on Epic, and he's like so into it, it's reading to him and he's learning. So sometimes he can get lost in that. So it's not a TV show, he's not watching something. But 2 can be a little hard, but bringing big sibling in can be better. Someone says, yes, I do the same with my 5-year-old.
Yeah, I have a 20-month, he's about to be 2, and a 5-year-old, multiple kids, and he doesn't want to wean off. I'm trying. Hopefully we'll get there shortly, but he wants to be on me, latched on like all day. It's like having like, this, person on you all day. But I think having the different, now I see why certain people, they have their kids back to back, because it's like now I have the kindergarten child and, you know, dealing with him in school, and then you have the other one and just trying to plan out and try to maximize school schedule. Well, this one is going to be in kindergarten, but then eventually this one is going to be in pre-K, and it is challenging. But with the strategies, I would say in regards to that is, you know, finding activities that they could do together, as Stepha said, that, you know, that they could collaborate, they could do different things with. The baby, he likes to sleep a lot. So if I do nurse him, he's going to sleep for like a good 2 hours. So that's the good thing about that. But, you know, another strategy is, like you said, like keeping them occupied. If you don't want them on screen time too much, buy a lot of tactile toys, like a sandbox. Well, that's going to cause a lot of mess, but, you know, Play-Doh and things that they like to play around with. That's good to keep them active and engaged. But no, they do not respect your time or understand your time, and you just got to incorporate all of that in there.
I don't have multiples, but I know from when my son was younger and I needed to just have maybe 20 to 30 minutes to clean the kitchen and, you know, just some time for myself maybe. Sometimes take a empty water bottle, put some uncooked macaroni in there. The baby got a shaker that makes a lot of noise. Kinetic sand is a clean sand alternative because it only sticks to itself. It's not nearly as messy. So those are some things that are a lot easier and gets you some time. You know, the most that your coworkers may hear is macaroni shaking around in a water bottle or something like that. And if they can't deal with that, then, I mean, feel free, email me and we can talk.
Yeah, I wonder, and y'all can shout me down as the mom in waiting who doesn't have like lived experience yet, but is there a way to get kids on the same schedule? Is that like a thing that exists?
It depends. When they're really young, and that's what I say, when they're really young, it can be harder to have them on that schedule and expect it to be a daily thing. I think you can try. I think it can be like, okay, if you're doing activities in kind of like categories. So one of the things, like my daughter was really big into art. So we try to bring like my son in. Clearly he doesn't have like the skills that she does, but he'd do art in a different way. So like, you're doing this and you're doing that. So you can categorize it and make it something that the 2-year-old can do and something that the 6-year-old can do, and do it that way. But I think that has the ability to work sometimes, but I wouldn't expect it to work all the time just because toddlers are not about that life.
That's real. I'm taking
yeah, kids in general just play by their own rules, to put it simply. I mean, my son is at the point, obviously this is supposed to be prep week for the school year. So he is like waking up at like 7:15, 6:45, and around like between 6 and 8 o'clock, he's like, okay, I'm tapped out for today. I need to go to bed. But throughout that time, that's easily anywhere from 12 to 14 hours. I don't want him mindlessly looking at the iPad that long or TV. So I'm like, okay, let's go for a walk. Let's jump on the balcony and, you know, do things like that. So sometimes one thing that I found effective through this is coordinate break times throughout the day for both of us. So he knows that there's times when, you know, I typically know my schedule a week in advance. So I plan out, okay, I have a meeting from this time to this time. So he can sit and do reading or learning or, you know, miscellaneous play during that time. I'm on break every single day from 12 to 1:30. I have a do not book block on my calendar. So all my coworkers know if you block anything during that time, it's going to automatically get rejected, because for one, that's my time to take a break, refresh, and that's his time to have me 100% undivided to himself. So that's just one way that we managed to kind of have our schedules sync up. But again, kids are fun-loving, play by their own rules. march to be their own drum individuals, and they expect you to work on their schedule and not them work on yours. And sometimes you just gotta surrender to the kid gods and say, okay, we're gonna do it your way today.
So one of the last questions I want to ask before we move into the questions that we got from the audience is self-care. What are some easy and affordable ways to incorporate self-care into your life? And like restorative self-care, not like good for the gram self-care.
Go to sleep early. Like find one day. Like sleep is so important, particularly when you're dealing with so much and you have young kids and you deal with multiple kids. It's just like we have all of these things happening and that are tugging us in different directions. I am somebody, if I'm sleep deprived, and nobody gonna have a good day. Because I just can't function. And for a while, I remember when my kids were younger, my son was very demanding. He was like that toddler that was just like that 2-year-old. He nursed until he was 3. We spent a year trying to wean him. That's not gonna happen for you, Shemeka. I'm just gonna send some good vibes your way, girl. But I remember portions where I fell back into that sleep deprived, and it wasn't until I started sleeping again I was like, oh my God, life is so much better that you can piece things together and you have more energy and you have more to just give to your work, to your children. So I think sleep is just like such a basic need that we often neglect because we're like, I finally got all the things done. Now I'm going to binge Netflix, or I'm going to do all these other things until 2 a.m. when your kids are going to wake up at 7 and they know, or they may wake up even earlier. So I think sleep is one. Nutrition, actually nourishing yourself. How does this food make me feel? Making sure you're not skipping meals because you're so busy trying to do all the things. So you're like, oh, did I eat? I didn't eat today, and it's dinner time. Or you snacked all day. You're going to get run down easier when those things aren't in alignment. Going outside for a walk, like moving your body and incorporating the kids. Children they got so much energy, they want to jump around, and I have found myself more and more like getting into that child play energy. Like my son would be like, Mommy, jump on the bed with me. And I'm like, you know what the hell? Why not? Let's jump on the bed. And you just do that instead of being like, oh, I must be at the gym and it has to be this and it must be for an hour. That's what it's going to look like. It's just like, nah, how do we make this work? And then another easy one is finding a chunk of quiet, whether it's like you wake up 30 minutes early, or when everybody goes down, you take that time instead of just like turning on the TV or going through Instagram or doing whatever. Look, I'm just gonna be quiet, listen to some music you like, or take a bath, whatever it is, but finding a little bit of quiet when all these things constantly come at you. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all of that. So one thing that I've started doing, we were crazy enough to move in the middle of a pandemic. Don't know why, but I closed on my condo April 1st and moved in April 4th. So that was a little crazy and I probably shouldn't have did it, but we did. So I now have this very spacious, beautiful balcony. And what I do every morning is wake up 30 minutes before I know my son typically would notice I'm no longer within arm's reach or he can zing across to my room, and go on the balcony and do some yoga. Typically that's around like 6:37, so the sun is just rising. It's not too hot yet, and I can, do some stretching, scream into the abyss if I need to. Then by the time, he's just stirring and getting out of bed, I'm already in front of the Keurig making my cup of coffee, already his shower, hair's done. And I've had that little bit of me time where I can, restore my energy and build the battery pack back up. And another thing, and it may sound like very Instagram-esque or cliche, is aromatherapy bubble baths. I love the smell of tea tree, eucalyptus, lavender. So I have a bubble bath and bath salts that, like, after the house has settled down, it's clean, everyone's in the bed for the night, and by everyone I mean the dog and my son, I go and run my bath water and, play. Sometimes it's my ratchet music. Sometimes it's like old school R&B, and have my eucalyptus candle and take a 15 to 30-minute bubble bath. And just that little act. Yes, I'm up 30 minutes longer than I anticipated, but what's something else I can do while I'm taking that bubble bath? Read a true crime book or listen to 30 minutes of a podcast. And that's feeding my mind, relaxing my body, and nourishing my spirit. And all of that is helping me still be a good mama, a good, worker, employee, and now, as we're all knowing, a good teacher as well.
I definitely agree with that. Just for me, affordable self-care consists of journaling, because sometimes you can just have so much on your mind, and social media is not the place. Like I used to, like when I used to write in my journal a lot, and then when social media came out, I would just put my thoughts on social media, and then I realized I was missing like almost 10 years worth of great journaling that I could have been doing. So I picked that journaling back up, and it just feels so good when I could just sit down and just like write for like 10 pages, 20 pages, just let everything out from my mind onto the paper, so I don't have to carry it with me. I don't have to sleep and think about it. I love listening to music. I love listening to inspirational music, motivational music. I have songs that pump me up when I feel down, and different topics, and I love to sing. So if I have that good combination of a good song and a good music, I'm just like singing at the top of my lungs. I had to schedule in, because that was the tricky part, because like when my husband's not here, the kid's not here, or even with the kids here, I'm like singing at the top of my lungs, but then he likes it to be quiet and I like to sing out loud. So I was like, I don't have time to sing. So like now when I was like doing my morning walks, I'm like singing, I'm just like letting it all out. And that's just like a good emotional, mental, spiritual release of just taking care of myself.
I love it, Shemeka. I won't ask you to sing, but maybe maybe after the call, I'll hear you sing. So yeah, before we go to the questions from the audience, what's one thing you want people to be able to leave tonight with, the ability to feel a little bit more grounded and in control of their work-life juggle?
For me, it's understanding that you are actively creating what your work-life juggle looks like, and it doesn't always have to be chaotic. And you get the unique opportunity, I think, to make it something that is aligned with you, something that works for you. And also you get to see what doesn't work, what kind of feels horrible. And maybe you're not able to get out of it right now, but you can plan for a future where you move more towards alignment and like, okay, these are the things that work for me, that facilitate me thriving in both work and at home and within myself. And these are things that absolutely cannot be in my life, but you get to have a voice in that. Don't let it be like, oh, COVID is happening, I don't understand, life is shit, I can't do it. Like, you can navigate like and really be in the driver's seat of your life. It kind of sounds cliche, but I think it can be a unique opportunity to create that.
Yeah, I think the one thing is you are not alone in this. A lot of times in motherhood, we feel like we're the only one going through a situation or going through certain circumstances, but I can promise you, for every one mom that's going through trying to juggle life and work and educating, making sure your kids are properly educated, it's four other moms that's dealing with it as well. So you're not alone in this at all. You have a community of other mamas who are just as frazzled, as sleep deprived as you. And you're going to make it, because eventually, sometime in the future, COVID is gonna be a thing of the past, and we're gonna be able to get margaritas and be like, girl, that was so crazy. I was stuck in house with kids forever. Oh my God. But until then, you can get you a cute little blender bottle, make your own margarita, and nobody knows it. But you also just be mindful you are not alone. You can it's more than enough Facebook groups out there where you can connect with mamas that are all over the world and say, girl, these kids are making me want to just jump out the window. I need to take a breather. I'm not catching a break. And, you know, there are resources out there to make this time just a tiny bit easier for you. And just be mindful, you're not alone. That's the biggest thing in it all.
That's good, Tess. I would say the last words, you know, as women, we are constantly with the struggle with the juggle, juggling being the breadwinner, the bread maker, and the crumb sweeper. And you are giving everybody pieces of yourself, and at the end of the day, you have nothing left for yourself. So I just want to let people know that you need to make sure that you are fulfilled. At the end of the day, you need, in order for you to survive and you to thrive and you know, do what you need to do, make sure you leave something for yourself as well.
Shemeka, I had never heard that before. Wow.
Listen, she gave me a word because I used to say like, oh, mamas bring home the bacon and feels like they have to cook the bacon and do this, but I was like, hold up, what?
Right.
Yeah,
because it's so true.
So good. So to go into questions from the audience, I am an essential worker who leaves the house at 8 a.m. and returns 12 hours later, 5 to 6 days a week. My husband is home but working and just keeps the kids alive. How can I keep my kids from falling behind and still have some time for me?
So I think, oh, go ahead, Shemeka. Okay, so I think one of the things, it kind of ties back to what we were saying about self-care. So self-care and scheduling, actually. So if I know they said their partners at home with the kids and they're just trying to keep them alive, which bravo to them, because that's a job within itself, making sure that your humans stay alive and make it to another day to continue conquering the world. But you know, sit down with your partner and the kids if they are of school age, so to speak, and come up with a schedule that works for them while they're at home. If this person does have any breaks throughout their day, they can use that break as their little bit of rest and recovery time, as well as do maybe a 2 to 3 minute check-in with the folks at the homestead. Make sure, you know, everyone's eaten. What was for lunch? Oh, have you guys done any reading activities? Did you go outside for a little bit of time? And, you know, just give them metrics to hold themselves accountable to for the day. And, you know, they say they get back home about 12 hours later. So make sure that you give them, love on them a little bit for those, once you get home, love on your spouse, make sure you have something for them. But like Shemeka said, have something in the tank for yourself. Take that bubble bath. If that's scrolling through TikTok mindlessly and trying to learn, you know, the new TikTok dance, do that, because you know you can maybe go to work the next day and your patients see you do the savage dance and all that, and that may bring a smile to their face, and you just learned a new skill because that dance is very hard.
Yes. I would say, I mean, 12-hour days, you know, I first commend you for, you know, being an essential worker in this time that we're in. And, you know, depending on the location of where you are, sometimes you want to incorporate those breaks within your day, if possible. And that way you can make sure that you're, you know, taking care of yourself, taking care of your needs in the meantime, in between time. But with your children, you know, trying to stay on top of their academics and everything like that, it's a challenge for all of us. Definitely talk to your partner in regards to, you know, setting up some routines and schedules for the little ones, so that way they're able to stay on top of their academics. Because one of the things, I mean, we didn't speak about it early today, but I've been speaking to a lot of mothers, is what is your you know, like that remote learning plan, because it's like, okay, most people are choosing remote, but you know, like you said, how do you prepare and plan and create the structure and environment for that? So that's something that you guys could come up together to think about on how to, you know, set up some time and touch base with each other in order to get the little ones with their academics. But certainly it's manageable, but and I thank you for, you know, reaching out to us in order to figure out some solutions. But that will be one of the main things, is really partnering together and coming up with a system and a routine for that.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the partner, because I think that, and Shemeka, we talked a little bit about this earlier today, but just like there's so much focus on the mothers and what they're doing, and not so much on how the fathers can, or the partners can step up and go beyond the bare minimum that's expected of them. Like the whole "I babysit my kid today" kind of language that we have around fathering. Like, how do we, yes, Stepha, how do we like bring them in?
Yeah, girl, because I was like, when I read this question, I was like, bruh.
Because it's not enough to just,
Something, I don't even know, because you know what, it could be like the partner's working, but if he is working from home, he is available. And just like we have these moms out here talking about, oh, I'm talking to my employer, I'm moving things around my schedule, I'm doing this, I am going to need the men to do the same. And I'm somebody who's very much into like pushing men to be like, bruh, we're doing this. And again, it's making me think about what Shemeka said about the breadwinner, the bread maker, crumb sweeper. That's the sense I'm getting from this. Like, she is out for 12 hours, is coming home, is probably the one who's thinking about what dinner, what kind of groceries we need, when the laundry's done. Oh, the kids, how do they not fall behind? So in order to have a true partnership, and it took me a few years of being married to understand this, that there's a difference with a husband and a partner. Okay, a husband is just a man, maybe take up space, give you a little something on the side, you know, but a partner is they're in it with you, okay? And you can call them in when they are not stepping up to the partnership, or when the arrangements change, or when your needs change, and you can be like, so this is what's going on, what are we going to do, how can we best support the children together? So it's like, how can I make sure, there should be no how can I make sure the kids don't fall behind, how are we making sure that the children don't fall behind? I personally, when it comes to like that fall behind, is I think I do lean more towards like an unschooling mindset, where I'm like, children learn no matter what. Now, if you have kids that are like in a testing grade and they need to test, so there are different things you can do there. But if children are younger, they're going to learn. Even older children, they're younger, it's just like they're going to learn more about what they're interested in. So there's that kind of thing happening. But you have to talk to your partner. You have to talk to your husband. You have to be like, you are home. Women who are home are making it work because they're talking to their employers. They're being like, oh, well, this doesn't work for me. I need the morning for the kids. Here's when I'm really available. So it's that conversation that I see it. I see it all the time. I see women showing up like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. Stuff. What do? I need balance. I'm like, what's this dude doing that you got? What is he doing? Oh, like, oh, he helps. He helps. Helps what? We have to stop expecting the bare minimum from men, or thinking like we're going to rock the boat. And some partners are willing to step up to the plate. Unfortunately, we have to kind of like, you know, like, come on, bro, you got this, you can do it. But a lot of them are. I know that was my situation. Like, the more I talked about it, and now we're really in a flow where like, hey, yeah, got to do a little more. But I do think if there's anyone listening to this and it's like, oh man, or in that situation, or if the person who asked the question, I'm going to push back and say, what is your husband doing? Is he showing up as a partner, or is he like the roommate that is leaving all the dirty shit for you to clean up after? Because that's not sustainable, and we have to start asking more in order to be fulfilled, in order to create this sustainable life to thrive. You can't have you doing 75%, and somebody's like, oh yeah, he's he's keeping the children alive, but he's working, but you're working too.
Yeah.
So keeping the children alive is no longer, you don't get a cookie.
No cookies.
Yeah. So that's it.
Stepha, I love you. Something that came up in like a past event series that I did called Mom's Night In about relationships was this idea that like we're all, well, okay, women more so than men, but like we're all kind of victims of patriarchy where men aren't asked to do more because women feel like they have to do it. So like this, something that came up there as a strategy was setting up meetings, like a weekly meeting where it's like, this is what I have going on, what do you have going on, and what do the kids have going on, and let's figure out who's doing what so that we all are a part of this choreography together. And so it's not just me who has it all in my head, or it's only in my Google Calendar. Like, let's get it on a shared Google Calendar. Just letting go of this expectation that you're supposed to be the one to bear the brunt of the management of the household, and bringing your partner in, because there is an expectation of being a mind reader. Like I know with Scott, sometimes I'm like, why do I have to say something? Like we're in the same pigsty of an apartment right now. Like, why do I have to say, when are we cleaning together? But you just have to tell people and have that communication. And then you can start like, what's going on? What are we doing? What's happening? Monica, what was the thing that you mentioned? Oh, fair play.
Yes, I asked, I should have sent it privately, but there was something, I spoke to her recently and she mentioned something that they did in her household called fair play. And it's basically, she can come off mute if she can, but it's basically like, what do you do? What do I do? And really getting to understand all the background stuff that mothers are doing. And because I do believe that men, I did this video a while back saying, like, when we were in school, like I don't know how old everybody is, but I'm 37. So like when I was in school, there was like this big push towards like, anything you can do, I can do better. And you are going to be the future leaders and all the women are going to do great things because we're equal. But I felt like no one was telling the boys how to really show up as an equal. So now, so we're bamboozled. We're like, yeah, we're gonna work, we're gonna do this, we could do all the things. And now we're doing all the things. It was just like empowerment, like laid down in patriarchy. So no one was telling the boys like, oh, like you actually have to show up. And there's no such thing as this is a woman's thing. This is like this, there could be like, you're good at this and I'm good at that. So we choose it. It might be traditional or not, but we happen to marry people. It's almost like there's gonna have to be a course required that these men take. So like, here's how you show up as a fair partner. Because we marry and we're having to be like, so like, why do I have to tell you to do the dishes?
That's an online course for you right there. That is a revenue stream that you need to, because I could listen to you.
To teach all the boys how to show the hell up. I'll bring my husband along and be like, baby, tell him how you did it.
The next question is, what are some ways we can get help if we can't afford to hire anyone?
That's
community.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was as a community, and you mentioned this earlier, Tessa. Just community. Who is in your network? Who is your friend with a teenager? I think it's hard. COVID made it hard, right? Because we had people we could reach out to, and now we don't. But what's going to, again, we're moving. We have to learn to live with this disease for a little bit until something gets figured out. And you cannot be siloed. It cannot. You might have to have a pod. You might have to like, okay, this family is our family that we are hanging with, and some days this mom is going to have my children, even if it's for like a couple of hours, and then another day we switch on and off, because we need that time. And it can feel really hard if you don't have a person that you're living with. So then you start like, oh God, I guess I should have been this and I should have been that. But who else can you reach out to? How can you think outside of what the picture is usually, like what it should look like, to be like, okay, who is in my community? Who are my people that can support me in this crazy, crazy time?
Yeah, I was definitely gonna say, reach out to your village. Like, for me, my mom and my younger sister lives about 10-15 minutes away from us. So earlier in the summer, I was literally just like at my wits end. We have been doing the social distancing and remote learning and adjusting to just life in general. And me and my sister made an agreement, and she said, "Hey, I can watch Mason like 2-3 times a week for you, so you can have, you know, a little bit of break time as well as like get some stuff done for work." And that allowed me to shift my schedule dramatically, because I was like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays will be my meeting heavy days and the days where I do a lot. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, since Mason's here, it'll be a little bit lighter and, you know, easier to navigate and shift through. So definitely, you know, reach out to your village. Like you said, if you have someone who has a teenage kid and they want to make a little extra spare change, maybe teenagers, like, you can give them $15 and they'll flip that to like 1,500, some of them. And, you know, just relying on that village. If you have siblings who are a little bit younger and they absolutely love your kids, just see what they can do and say, hey, can you maybe come over for a few hours and play with them, or watch a movie with them and chill out with them? Or, you know, can I bring them over to you if your family is close by? Or I know one thing that some of the parents in our school district is doing, they're going to be doing rotating days where all the kids go to someone else's house and do learning a different day. I'm not doing that, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, just really, you know, making those connections and everything. Yeah, I certainly agree with Stepha and Tess on that one in regards to that.
We have a question about organizational tools. I know that we touched on that it's really hard to keep things separate, like emotionally and in terms of time, but like physically, what are some organizational tools moms can use to keep the school space separate from like the home living space?
Organization tools. I would say, like you said, everyone has different space in regards to where you have, you know, available. It could be spacious or it could be more close quarters, but certainly, like you said, carving out that special workspace or block off, get dividers, whatever, just to create some type of space for you. When it comes to being organized, when I first started, you know, a lot of people came on the meeting with the bonnets and everything on. And with one of the strategies that I had was, by my work area, I would always have either a black cardigan, like a black cardigan. So that way I will always know back, because I'm in the house, I'm in loungewear. But when it's time for that Zoom meeting, I put on that cardigan and you only see the top and it just looks, you know, beautiful at the time. And then the second thing was, you know, in being organized and saving time was even with my hairstyles, like just braiding it, doing a flat twist in the front. So that way it was always in ready to go mode, you know, just being organized in that manner. And also when it comes to with the family and the kids and having everything situated, is just making sure that you know, they have their play time, their play area. If they're gonna mess it up, they're gonna mess it up, because that's what kids do. But at least you have your workspace, you have your boundaries. And if you're working outside, if you're an essential worker and you're working outside and you're coming home, making sure that you create some boundary and space for yourself as you come home to relax and have that moment for yourself. Like, you know, like we understand, like the kids know when dad needs to go into the man cave, goes into the man cave, you know. So they're like 5. They understand what that means. You need some privacy. Mom needs some privacy. So we have that language going up there, like, you know, where you could set it up and you could have that space between work and your private life.
Yeah, we have a suggestion from Ashley, Trello. It works great for personal stuff. I use Trello for personal and work stuff too. And it's just like a visual way to block out all the things that you have to do. You can have like checklists and to do things. It's like a very visual way to think about all the things that you have on your plate, and you can see it, check it off, move it off your plate. So that's helpful. I'm big on Google Calendars. I use Calendly a lot because I hate the like back and forth of like, does this day work for you? Oh no, it doesn't work for me. How about this? Like, no, this is a link. You pick the time, you pick the way that we're going to communicate, and that like eliminates a lot of the work back and forth for any freelancers who have a hard time setting up meetings. I'm trying to think what else I've been seeing.
I would add one thing in there, Toby, because those were like regular scenarios. But one thing that had helped and was just having a VA, right? And what I mean by that is people think like, oh my gosh, that's something that's expensive. So literally, things were just going all over the place. And I said, okay, I need to get someone to help me just to alleviate like some basic like admin stuff, personal admin stuff. And I just went online and I got a VA, and you know, I know Tessa's the HR person, so she could close her ears on this one. But you know, I found someone in the Philippines who like helped me out for like at a good, like put it like this, for a week's work. If I was to go to like Golden Cross and buy myself a dinner, like it's a good price. And they work like a good couple of hours, getting some stuff off my plate. And it's beautiful, and it's as simple as it is. Like you would think, like $3 to $5 an hour, and someone is taking care of like all these little admin stuff that I just needed to get off my chest. And just having that extra 5 to 10 hours a week, which is like $15, $20, every once in a while, that's extremely helpful. That's just been like a good thing there.
Where did you find your VA? Like Upwork or?
For me, I went to Upwork. So I went to Upwork, and I had one that I worked with for like about 4 years, and then I just got a new one, and very, very efficient, very, very good people, and it's been helpful. It's been a weight of relief. It took a good couple of hours off of the personal week.
That's a first one. I've like never heard someone talk about a VA before, but that like all moms should have a VA.
Mm-hmm. Ordering groceries online, once you do that, you know, that's a timekeeper there. Save like about 2-3 hours there. You just on the app, go to Peapod, Fresh Direct, whatever, and they have coupons and discounts where it's like free shipping or free delivery, and they come right there to your front door and just drop it all off for you. So, I mean, it's just like all these little tips and apps and strategies that you implement in there that really goes. And the home devices like the Alexas and Garmins or whatever they're called now, they're extremely helpful as well once you get them set up and going.
Yeah. And something that you talked about earlier was like the remote learning scheduling. And can you guys talk about ways to incorporate your kids' remote school schedule with your work schedule?
So we came up with, so we had different scenarios for our family. So my son goes to a school that has very demanding needs. So we we had to, even before COVID, we were trying to figure out how we were even gonna make the work-life balance happen with the demands that the school asked on us. But we came up with a scenario of if we keep him for home learning, what that would look like. The school that he's in now, the summer school, it ends tomorrow, but they're going to be reactivated. So they have it, they COVID proof, you know, the place, they did the setup. And they said that, okay, if you want to, another option is you could bring him here and we would, you know, do the learning, because all this, they got the place set up COVID style, COVID proof style, in order to say we will work with the schedule, work with the school. Once everything is done, you know, you could pick him up. And then the third option was if we were doing blended learning. So we looked at the pros and the cons on what it is. We're just waiting for the DOE to make that decision, but we decided personally to do the blended blended learning. And we're working with his center, his local center, where we would balance off that he will be with us when he has his private music lessons, because he goes to a special music school which incorporate private lessons that we have to attend. So we will do that together as a family at home, and then the regular academics, we will have him at the center and they will do the enrichment and everything there. So it took a lot of coordination, but that was the best option that worked with our family.
I think what you have to think about is what is going to work for your family, and again, like exploring all options you have available. So currently in New York City, it's kind of in limbo, even though I'm very involved in the school. So I know some of the background stuff, and what we're doing is within our classroom trying to organize like understanding who needs what, because some people's needs are greater than others, right? Some people can hire tutor and easily like go off somewhere, while others like are like, I'm struggling, I need to go back to work and I need somebody with my children for 8 hours a day. So really figuring out what that is, what those needs are, being really vocal about your needs and reaching out to your community. I think your school, if you are in a school, no matter what kind of school it is, there should be a resource, and start talking to them about those needs. And talking about, specific to your questions, Tomi, about remote learning, it's again, what do you need to get done within a day or within a week? And once you know what that schedule is, how do you find a way to fit those things in a way that makes sense for the entire family? And school is going to have to, you know, give and take. So if they're having like some kind of rigid schedule, explaining to them like, this ain't gonna work for my family, because I'm also going to be needing to be at work and my child doesn't necessarily work well with this setup, and working with them like, how about this instead? So when you bring up a pushback, it's good to have like, yes, but here's what I'm thinking, here's what works better for us. So basically advocating for yourself and understanding what that's going to look like and what works for your family.
I'm really glad you said that like communicating with the school piece makes a big difference. It's not something that has to happen to you. It's something that you can be in conversation with the school and the teacher to make sure that it works for your family.
I wanted to add, oh, go ahead, Tessa.
Okay. No, another thing, my son's school gives every single kid an email address. Given most of them probably don't know what to do with it, but they do it for the simple fact that some parents may have calendar integrations where they can sync their kids' calendars with theirs, and the teacher will send every single thing that they are doing. His teacher, my son's teacher, just started doing it today actually, and setting up for the remainder for the school year up until December, I believe, their schedule every single day. So my schedule typically isn't planned out no more than a week, maybe 2 weeks in advance. But seeing as though he doesn't start school for another 2-3 weeks, I already have it planned out where, okay, he's going to be doing teacher instruction from 8 to 9:30. So I need not to be in a meeting between those times. And he's going to be doing independent learning from 9:30 to 11. At 11, he has recess and lunch. So, you know, structure my day around his day. And it's one of those things you have to physically do it. And I'm a self-admitted workaholic. I will work myself until exhaustion is literally looking me in the face and like, go to bed, girl. And I've had to tell myself, like, no, stop what you're doing, get up, go eat something more than a cup of coffee and fudge cookies, and, you know, hold yourself to task. And that's the best way to like juggle their lives, your lives, and you got to do what works for you and your family.
And then the last questions that we have from the audience are like suggestions for a daily schedule for a single mom of an 8-year-old who is balancing working from home for the first time and remote learning with her daughter. She's trying to find the balance in her day that allows her to meet work demands, check in on learning, and not neglect the social and emotional well-being of herself and her daughter. And I know that we like touched on all of this throughout the talk, but if like you could give like a sample of what a schedule could look like for her, I think that would be helpful. And then there's someone else who's asking as a freelancer and homeschooler what her schedule could look like.
So first of all, for the mom with the 8-year-old, I think it's so awesome that she's actually thinking about the social emotional learning because or social emotional connection for both mom and daughter, right? Because I don't know about y'all, but generations before did not necessarily come to those things until it was much too late. So I think how awesome that she is prioritizing that, but trying to figure out like how do you make it work in this messy environment. And I think it starts with describing exactly what that looks like. So what her daughter's 8, which is like good. She's at a phase where she might not be as needy. She knows how to work a device and things of that nature, but like what works for her? What does she need? What kind of connection? For me, a very loose sample schedule would include some kind of morning connection that they do together, whether they do a meditation, some kind of yoga, or just sit and eat breakfast together and talk about like what they're excited about. And same thing, like connection points in the middle of the day, making a schedule where like, okay, this is work, setting the expectations. Mommy has a meeting. If something very important is coming that week or that day, communicating what the child's schedule looks like, where to integrate, color coding them, having fun with it. And then when they close the night, you know, having like, what was the good thing about your day? You know, really keeping that connection going, but understand that at 8, she is able to understand some of the things. So why not be like, all right, girl, what you got in your world? Here's what I got in my world. And we're making this work, and then have something fun planned at the end of the week or every couple of weeks, something like that. That's what I'm thinking.
I love that. That's great. Does anyone have any suggestions for the freelancer homeschooling mom? Her kids are 3.5 and almost 6. And she's looking for suggestions for breaking up schooling and mama work.
So,
Go ahead.
you could, Stepha, you could go.
Yeah, I say again, because she's a freelancer, I'm assuming there are times that are like really busy and then times that aren't. So understanding like where's the struggle, like what's the biggest thing that she struggles with, and how can she find support within that struggle. So whether it's something that we mentioned before, like reaching out to the village, like she might need is she a single mom too?
No.
Okay, so she might need, again, so if she has a husband, if she has a husband, she might have to ask him to be a partner. If she has a partner, it's just like, okay, here are some of my exclusive freelancing mama needs that I need to take care of, especially with a 3.5-year-old that may not give you that time when you need it. So I think it's having a conversation, as we mentioned earlier, with the partner and being like, hey, here's what I got going on, almost those weekly conversations, and seeing that, okay, I can do my freelance stuff, or I can do my mama work stuff at this time, and I can focus on homeschool, and time blocking it and making that, I don't know who mentioned it, but we do this also, is the family calendar. So what's happening with the kids. So on Monday is mom's day, Tuesday is dad's day, and bouncing off with those, so that way everybody feels that they are really having something for them, so their needs are also being addressed.
Yes, yes. I would say that once again, just to bring back, you know, work in the plan, prepare, leverage, accommodate, navigate. So as you think about, you know, as your homework and take away, you know, really think about, okay, what are some things that you need to prepare? So if you know that your schedule is here, there, everywhere, then, you know, what are some things that, if you know that this is going to happen, if you have a callback, or you have an assignment, what are some things, and look at that process and the logistics and the moving pieces that goes into that. And then, you know, as you're thinking, you know, leveraging your partner, your spouse, or, you know, those who you have with you, so that way you're able to balance, you know, having the time with your daughter, being able to get the work done, making those accommodations that you need, and, you know, navigating your way around this times that we're in. As you're a freelancer, that's a great, as Stepha mentioned, that you have the ability to have some flexibility within your day and in your schedule. But as you're building, as you're thinking about, you want to have some areas where you have the structure, and then leave room for that flexibility. That way you're able to be nimble and to move things around as needed. But as much as you can, just really start thinking about, okay, these are some of the things that I need to plan. These are some of the things I need to leverage. These are some of the things that I need. These are the combinations that I need as you're speaking with your employer or the people that you're having your contracts with, and looking at the different ways, and then reaching out and connecting with your extensive network on how to navigate the scenario, because I'm sure that you're not the only person that's going through what you're going through. So as you get those tips and strategies, that's really going to be helpful for you.
You guys, this was amazing. I loved everything that we got to get through, and all the strategies and tips, and that the attendees also shared. Like Ashley shared, schedule your dinner deliveries on Grubhub. The moment you realize you didn't take out the chicken, set it up. That's do it. And plan. PLAN. I really love that. Also, breadwinner, bread maker, crumb sweeper. I mean, this has been a really, really great night. So where can everyone find you? Let's start with Shemeka. How can people connect with you after Mama AMA?
Yes, everyone is, I'm on everywhere on social media, but the best place is shemekabrathwaite.com/moms, because I do want to give you a free copy of my ebook, Time Strategies for Working Moms, because there was so much to cover, but we put it in one night. So that's my gift to you, and that's where we will connect, because I'll just continue sharing more information thereafter.
Well, thank you, Shemeka. That's great. And Stepha, where can the people?
Yes. The people can find me most of the time on Instagram, and I'm a Mama Slay Life there. And then, of course, my website is my name, stephaalafond.com. I currently have one of my signature offers is what's called the Mom Life Audit. And I sit with you and we work through what one specific area that you're trying to troubleshoot. And right now it's kind of like this issue and how do I show up in this COVID nonsense world and how do I make sense of it? And we basically work together to co-create a system that works for you and will bring you back into alignment with your values and the life that is that you're trying to create that best suits you. So interested, hit me up. We get 20% off and that's that.
Thank you. And Tessa?
I'm on Instagram as Tessa XLELLEX. I'm also on LinkedIn. Totally forgot about my LinkedIn because I most of the time am going on rants about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, as well as parenting. I call it parenting through the pandemic. So I have some fun anecdotes on there, and that's Tessa Jenkins on LinkedIn as well. And yeah, you can also email me, Slack me, Snapchat me, all those fun things.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been really amazing. A recording of this will be made available on Modern Maya's YouTube and Facebook page. And then tomorrow is the last night of Mama AMA, and that will be focusing on supporting kids' emotional well-being and mental health. So navigating anxiety as it shows up in kids. That will feature licensed marriage and family counselor Deetra Baker, child play therapist Malia L. Siegel, and positive discipline coach Chrissy Coggins. So I feel like it's going to be a really great conversation. A lot of support being offered on how to support your kids through this difficult time, and also yourself too. You can feel free to ask questions about like, well, what about me as well? So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us, and I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.